Tyres are what connects you and your bike to the ground. A lot of thought has gone into the sight profile, the tread pattern, and even the compound of the tyre to make them perform at their best. But with a decent branded tyre costing around about 60 to 70 English pounds these days, I wondered if you could get similar performance for something that's under £20. So the cheapest mountain bike tyres I could find was actually on Amazon. Now you can see I've had to buy two different brands. Now this is because I run mixed wheel sizes on my nuke-proof Mega. So I needed to get a 29-inch by 2.4 and a 27.5 by, well, similar 2.4 as well. So I had to go with two different brands because they didn't actually make the two different sizes in the same brand. But this has given me a good opportunity to see the difference in quality between the cheaper options anyway. And there's already quite a bit of difference in terms of feel, weight, and actually smell. These smell really bad. And I'll be putting them up against my Vittoria Mazza, which is a enduro trail specific tyre. It's what I'm most comfortable on. I run these all the time on my nuke-proof Mega, and I've got obviously a 29 in the front and a 27 in the back, and I usually run 2.4 on both sides. So what I have for the rear here is Baldwin's Baldy's Brown Wall. Yeah, and apparently the tread type is knobbly, excellent all-weather performance, and long-lasting durability, although they don't state that they're tubeless specific, so I'm gonna have to run a tube with that. So that's my first negative for the Baldwins. And then over here on the front, my 29er is gonna be the Finchy folding bike tyre. That tread type is grooved, apparently. Oh yeah. What we have here is a Finchy downhill tyre made of high quality nylon and rubber. Kevlar wire makes this enduro tyre foldable and lightweight. Perfect replacement tyre for XC bicycles. Also provides fast and comfortable ride on roads and tarmac. This tyre does everything, but also this does not state that it's tubeless specific. So to be on the safe side, I'm gonna have to run a tube with that, which again, personally, that is a downside for me. I prefer tubeless. Vittoria, that they'll be going up against the Mazza, and the tread type listed here is for mixed and loose terrain geared towards enduros. So we talked about tread design, and there's a few things about the Mazza that I've grown to love over the time of riding these, and that is that they have this kind of tapered sipe profile. So as they taper in towards the end of the sipe or the knob, then it gives this kind of flexibility, this malleable feel, so that it's soft, which means it'll be nice and grippy, certainly if you're trying to climb technical climbs, or if you're riding over rougher terrain, it will grab better. But because there's a wider base, you still have that support when you're going into corners. It won't feel like the tyre's bending or rolling. If you look over at the Finchy, these are absolutely solid. They do not move. They're quite short as well, which won't help in terms of malleability, certainly won't help in terms of durability either, I think. And even with the Baldies, I would say they're in the opposite direction. They are really, really soft, which is possibly going to be great for grip and tread. But they might feel really disconcerting in the corners. Vittoria Mazza, we have 930 grams for a brand new tyre. Baldwin's Baldy's Brown Wall is exactly a kilo, 1,000 grams. Now the Finchy is a 29er, so I will expect it to be a little heavier. It also didn't come in a 2.4 again, which is really annoying. So I've had to go for a 2.6, and that is 1.2 kilos. So the total weight from Vittoria of what I'm running on my Mega is 1,870 grams in total. And for the setup I've got here with the Finchy and the Baldwins will be a total of 2.2 kilograms or 2,200 grams. Now, weight might not be a massive issue for you, especially in enduro, but a lot of that weight on the cheaper tires is coming from the ratio of rubber to nylon threads. So the thread count would be quite low in the cheaper end tires. The Mazdas actually have a thread count of 120 TPI. So TPI is the threads per inch, so how many nylon fibers run through that. And the higher the number, then the more malleable your tire will be, which will offer you great traction, especially on rough terrain, and it will feel a lot grippier. The Finchy here has 60 TPI, at least that's what they've listed it as, which is why it feels quite firm, like a sort of an affordable pair of rubber shoes. Right, first up, let's get acquainted with this trail on the Vittoria Mazdas, seeing as I'm used to these first. Right, let's go. That is soft. Now, there's not many tyres that can feel great in ground that's dry. So dry and so soft. Plenty of grip on my rear though, I can literally grind to a stop in those steeps. Right, let's open her up. Wow, loads of grip in the corners. Gotta love the Mazdas. Woo! Went off track there, that was my fault. Jumps, grips well on the loose stuff afterwards. There you go. Easy, loads of grip. Could be that those rocks are grippy, but I'm thinking it's probably the Vittorias that are helping. No bending or distorting, as you would expect from a company that put a lot of money into R&D. That trail's pretty wild in places. There's like rocks and sand and corners and natural drop-offs. It's pretty unpredictable in places, but I think that is the perfect trail to put a tyre through its paces. So let's try the other Amazon set of tyres now. That went on very easy indeed. 19.5, perfect. So I've just taken my front tyre off and there is an absolutely massive splinter of wood through my tyre. No joke, I wouldn't have seen that. And obviously the sealant has sealed it, which is absolutely why I prefer tubeless tyres and sealant. If there was a tube in there, there's no way that would have stayed afloat and I would have got a very, very flat front tyre. God, these are so stiff and thick. Right, time to try the Amazon tyres, and obviously the big difference already is that the rear wheel looks so skinny and the front wheel looks so fat. And you may be thinking it's not a completely fair test, but I do think it's important to note that when you buy cheap tyres, you do get less choice on things like width. So anyway, enough talk. Let's see what they feel like. Already a bit slidey in the rear. Nice volume in the front. 2.6 is obviously quite comfy. Oh, a bit skatey though. Oh, ah. Neither of them like the loose terrain. Nearly lost the front wheel on that. Oh. Right, I've had to have a little pause because I had a little moment there where I was coming round a corner and I'm so concerned with the potential lack of grip washing out over the corner. What I didn't realise is that weighting the bike and having not much grip or sipes on the edges means the bike actually dragged inside and nearly threw me over the outside of the corner. So just to cut it short, I'm actually really noticing the lack of tread on the front. It's very washy, and the back end is quite skatey, which isn't too bad. It makes me feel pretty cool in the corners, but I wouldn't say it was very fast or very safe. I certainly wouldn't want to race in these. Anyway, let's carry on. Oh my days, this is skating. Jump and land fine, as you'd expect. In a straight line, they're okay. Their front tyre slipped down the rock. That was an interesting run. They're not terrible, but not amazing either. So let's go and have a little sit down and talk about the differences. Baldwin's Baldy's brown wool at the rear here. Now, first thing to mention is they absolutely stink. They smell like an old ashtray, which is just disgusting. And fitting them was almost a little too easy, in my opinion. They felt slightly baggy, and the recommended 30 to 55 PSI is not what I would like to run for an off-road trail tyre, certainly not enduro. I'd like to run a little less. Because they were quite thin carcass, the lack of support when going over rough ground, over rocks and over roots, I actually hit my rim. And again. For me, I would like more support and definitely tubeless for a rear. I'd also like to point out that the lack of tread on the sides of the carcass meant that the rear tyre washed out sideways quite a lot. Pretty much every loose corner it would wash out. But I think this is probably best left to tamer trails if you're going to run something like this, and you've got to be happy running tubes at quite a high pressure. So the Finchy folding tyre on the front, you know what? I really enjoyed having a 2.6. You know, the volume is nice to have, especially here in Spain where it's really rocky and rough. But when I fitted these, the pressure was a bit better than the rear. We were allowed to run a recommended 25 to 55 PSI, which is a bit better in my realms. However, the carcass was so thick and so firm that even in a low pressure, this felt like they were rock solid, which made them actually feel quite fast rolling, I must admit. They were good in the flatter trails, I would say, but the lack of tread on the centre was a bit disconcerting. So although they looked like they had good side grip because of the sipes around the sides of the carcass, the lack of tread in the centre meant my front wheel washed quite a lot, especially when steering around loose, tight corners. And for me, that is just a no. For enduro, certainly. So steep, loose trails, and when you're riding proper enduro, I just don't think a cheap tyre with lack of support is very fun. You know, it's not fun to face plant. I quite like my teeth, so that's sort of a big no-no for me. Also, the tubeless element, I think, you know, I got away with it on the big volume here. It was a nice amount of support, even though it was tubed. So overall, Like I said, they're not terrible. I think if I had a cross-country bike or a trail bike where I was doing nice kind of mellow trails and nothing was requiring me to hit the brakes or come in too fast into corners, they would be fine. They're fast rolling, and you know what? They were quite okay. But if you're going to ride genuine enduro trails, steep, loose terrain, rough terrain, then I do think it is worth purchasing a decent set of tyres. Not only will they offer you support in corners, they'll offer you more grip and traction in loose terrain, but also your brakes will work a lot better if your tyres can actually dig into the terrain. So what do you guys think? Would you run cheap unbranded tyres? Would you trust them? Have you done it before? And are you sticking with them, or are you going back to branded tyres? Let me know down in the comments below, and let's share some stories with the GMBN Tech community. But for now, thanks for watching.